Welcome, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers. It's your only friend, these YouTube streets. Porlock77, here with my Last of Us 2 review with spoilers. And I want to emphasize the term spoilers, because my review will have spoilers to the game. So, if you are interested in the game, and if you're currently playing the game and have not beat it, I recommend that you stop the video now. It will still be here. You'll always have access to it. Right? It's not hidden behind a paywall. Play the game, finish the game, then come back to this review. Right? It's kind of a review discussion. Now, if you haven't played the game and you're interested in the game and you don't mind spoilers, you just want context, because especially what you hear on social media, Facebook, Twitter, reviews, user reviews, you're just not sure if this is the type of game you want to play. So you came here to help you shape that opinion, then fine. Remain, and I hope you enjoy what I'm about to present. Before I move on, if you're new to the channel, I hope you enjoy this content. If you do end up like this content, or other content I have on this channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. Now, as the title says, or tries to explain, The Last of Us 2, the sequel, did not end up being the game I thought it was going to be. Now, I didn't have any true idea of what the story was going to end up, so in that regard, that's not what I'm talking about. When you look at sequels to games, and if you've been playing games for a long time, across generations, you kind of get a pulse of the direction of what games go to with their sequels. You get a simple idea, right? For me to explain why, to give you an idea of what I didn't expect, what I got from The Last of Us 2 that I didn't originally expect I would get, I have to go back a little bit to The Last of Us, the first one. Ironically, the first game is in the same parallels as the second game, where they both released towards the end of the generation, and in the midst of the game coming out, we were all talking about next generation consoles, next generation technology. The first Last of Us came out in June 2013. And 2013 was all about conversations of Xbox One, PlayStation 4. By the time The Last of Us came out, Sony and Xbox, Microsoft had their reveals. Negative impressions, positive impressions, but there was a huge focal point in discussion pertaining to next generation. Then you got this game in the summer, The Last of Us. Of course, through previews, people knew about it, people were anticipating, because this is Naughty Dog. And at that time, the big blockbuster game they made for the PS3 during that era was Uncharted. And Uncharted 2 took them to new heights, Uncharted 3. So a new IP from the makers of Uncharted, and then people remember Jackson Daxter and all those other games, was a big thing. But coming up on the tail end of the generation, it made a huge impact. Naughty Dog presented us with an amazing world, post-apocalyptic, but introduced two amazing characters, Joel and Ellie. Quick synopsis, simply put, Joel was a man who was around when the outbreak started, and his daughter was killed in the process of it. Flash forward to life in the new world with the outbreak, with the infested, the infected clickers. Joel's a man with no family, done things in his past to survive, some good, some really bad, and he just didn't care about much in life other than surviving day by day and doing what he had to do to make a living in a world where you can't really live. Enter a little girl named Ellie, who so happened to be immune to this infection that's plaguing the world. And he was tasked with a job to deliver her, across country to a medical facility where whatever she has in her body that makes her immune can be attempted to make a vaccine. And if successful, ultimately saving the world, saving mankind from this plague. So for Joel, it was just a job. But through his travels, he ultimately fell in love with this girl. The girl became his daughter. As much as he tried to fight it, he cared for her. They've been through a lot of struggles. She latched onto him through conversations, through laughter, through smiles. Ultimately, when on their way to their final destination, they realized they could have a life together. Similar to father and daughter. But in the end, there was a plot twist in the final destination. The cure came with a price. And the price was Ellie's life. In order for the world to have this cure, Ellie had to die because of the location of the source of her immunity for this disease. So what started out as a girl who was simply a package to deliver, now became a choice of someone who you could look at as your daughter. Joel made a choice. Some people could say it's the wrong choice. I mean, it's the age-old question. Would you sacrifice a child to save the world? You know, so it's not a new tale. It's just an interesting alternative take to that. Joe, I think, chose what any father would. Damn the world. I know I wouldn't be able to make that choice. Sacrifice my daughter for the world, regardless. It's just, I don't know. I don't think I could live with myself with that. It's easy to sacrifice yourself to make that choice. But your child? It's even biblical. Even the Old Testament had a scenario where God asked for sacrifice of your only son. It's interesting. Anyway. So Joel, to save Ellie's life, killed the doctor that was going to perform the surgery, killed the staff, and anyone who got in the way. Ellie gets to live. That was 7 years ago. And since then, the world's been waiting for a sequel. We all have been waiting for the sequel. Now, through the midst of sequels, when you think of a sequel now, you think of just the classic gaming sequels. You got your two iconic characters that started a franchise, no different than any other game. Nathan Drake with Uncharted, Crash Bandicoot, Master Chief with Halo, Samus with Metroid. Those are the characters that got introduced, and now we expect them to continue. So, what I expected, just like from any other sequel, play as Joel, play as Ellie, and there's probably some new type of drama. I didn't know what the drama is. I had some guesses. Of course, there were the leaks. I didn't pay attention to it, right? But I did look at some of the trailers, official trailers, and I was making guesses. Me personally, between the teaser and the in-depth Last of Us that Sony did during E3, you know, the scene where Ellie kissed the girl, between that and then in the official trailer, the last trailer before the game came out, there was a scene where you saw Ellie. She was pinned down onto the ground with her hands behind her back, and she's begging, saying, "Please stop." Between those two things, I assumed that maybe Ellie got raped, the girl that she kissed got murdered, and now she wants revenge, so her and Joel are going to go out and get revenge. Joel's going with her because... Oh, and also the other scene where she was playing the guitar, and Joel's talking to her, which Ali wasn't in the game, but which was another teaser scene that Naughty Dog did, and she says that she's going to kill every last one of them. Those three scenes just gave me an idea of maybe this is where she got raped, her friend got murdered, maybe because they were lesbians, and now she's out for revenge, and Joel is going to go there with her because there's no stopping her. And I'm thinking in my head, all right, that might be the story. That might be the story. Classic tale of revenge, but the two iconic heroes, Joel and Ellie, they're going to go out there and they're going to get it, right? That was my thought. Maybe I'm wrong, okay? So I started playing the game. Classic Naughty Dog setup. Let's talk about the tech a little bit. Animation's great. The voice acting, phenomenal. Smooth transitions in gameplay. Gunplay mechanics, better than anything Naughty Dog has done so far. So this is definitely an improvement in terms of gunplay mechanics and stuff. Great transitions, they did more to get you involved into the gameplay. So even though there is some cinematic scenes, some QTE scenes, but a lot of scenes that would normally be set pieces, straight up cinematics, they replaced it with, different approaches on how you can kill people or attack people or handle a situation. And because of the animation, it made it so smooth. Some of the things you can do, like you could grab a brick, throw it at somebody's head and run at them and smash them with a hammer. Or hit somebody in the kneecap with a gun and then knock them out with a bat. Some of these things traditionally in the Naughty Dog games, they would normally be just cinematic cutscenes, but these are straight gameplay and it ties in so smoothly. So as you're playing, you get to notice that, and it gets even better and better as the game progresses. But like normal, the game starts pacing itself to the setup. You play as Joel, you play as Ellie, you start doing some things happen, not too much big deal. But then something happened. I should have noticed it then, but I didn't. It was an introduction of a new character named Abby. So you play as her for a little bit. But at the time thinking, you know what? This character might be to spice up the sequel. A new character that you play as. You could guess that somehow she's going to be intertwined with Ellie and Joel, and maybe it's them three doing their thing. Maybe Abby is a new hero to the game, right? You're playing as her. So you do your things with her, just like anything else in the world of The Last of Us, or just any world of this type, people meet on chance of survival. She runs into Joel and his brother Tommy with insane amount of infected chasing her, and they save her life. And they escape, they fight, they battle. Storm's coming in. They're trying to find a way to find shelter for safety. She recommends a camp where her friends are at. Joel and Tommy recognize where that place is, so that's where they head out. 3 people who met up in a chance for survival. So Joel and Tommy, they go into this house, but you can tell, it's amazing what Naughty Dog did. You can actually see on the screen something's not right. You see the reaction in people's faces, how they stop talking, how she's even acting. You could tell something's just not right, but you don't know what it is. It's amazing storytelling. Joel and Tommy introduces themselves, and he gets a sense that they know him, or they know of him. He even mentions that. I think he says something to the effect of, I have a feeling you guys heard of us. Abby replies to something, paraphrasing, oh, that's because we did. And she takes a shotgun and blows his leg off, and then the other people attack Tommy. This is where it goes left. Because the person you were just playing as attacked your iconic character from the game you enjoyed. And I'm thinking, what the F? WTF? Like, I just played as her. And now she attacks Joel. Right? Conversations happens, not going into detail, but she ends up getting a golf club and she starts wailing on Joel. And it pisses me off. Mainly because why would I be playing as a character that will ultimately beat the crap out of Joel? Switch transition to over Ellie. Ellie realizes Joel is missing, hasn't reported in time, so now you're hunting for him. Ultimately, you end up in that cabin. You get ambushed and pinned down, hence the scene, please stop. Ellie, pinned to the ground, powerless, witness Abby, and that's the character's name, I'm sorry if I didn't mention it. The character Abby beat Joel to death in front of her face. Despite Ellie's pleas, begging to stop, Abby ultimately kills Joel with one final crack of the golf club. The crew is going to kill Ellie and Tommy. They don't, because the ultimate person they really wanted to kill was Joel, for reasons unknown. They knock out Ellie. And the next thing you know, Ellie wakes up to the face of the girl, her girlfriend, Dina, and Joel dead. So now I'm back on track. Now I know the point of the game. A classic tale of a child, in this case a daughter, you know, relationship-wise, witnessed the brutal murder of her father, and she's gonna get revenge. As a gamer, I'm gonna help her get revenge. We're gonna play this game, and we're gonna get revenge. We know the target. It's Abby. We already know. So we know the plot sequence now. You know, obviously they do cinematics, conversation. Do you go? Do you don't go? We know it's gonna happen. Ellie's gonna get hers. She's gonna get her. You know, she's gonna get her pound of flesh. So you head out to the destination where Abby's rumored to be at, which is Seattle, and you spend your days hunting her down. Bit by bit, Ellie hunts, as you playing it, the important people that was part of there, ultimately to get to Abby. Now, as far as the gameplay in this area, it's semi-open world, not fully open world, but just enough, you know, to open up and give the city of Seattle some life, but not too much to where it just becomes a boring fetch quest like a lot of open world games. It's just enough to go through the story, but yet enjoy this nice rich world and have different ways of approaching things. So Naughty Dog found a nice balance to not go too far into the open world, but at the same time, not make it full straight corridor gameplay. A nice balance to give it a refreshing take. Weapons, crafting, all the stuff still there. Character development, you know, great way, great design. From a gameplay standpoint, one of the top games of this generation from a technical standpoint. As you play through the days of Seattle, you kill some of our closest friends, you go through memories, right? Things happen that I would say ultimately prevents you from going from your goal. Spoiler alert, Ellie's girlfriend's pregnant from another man that she dated before, so that changes everything. A lot of things changes. So on the final day that Ellie's there, she has to put her revenge on hold because bigger things are more important. But oddly enough, in the final moments, Abby found out her friends got murdered, and she finally found Ellie. And the scene ends with Abby pointing a gun at Ellie. And I'm thinking, okay, so this is the scene. This is the climax. This is where revenge comes in. Somehow, some way, Ellie's going to find a way, right? But something happens. And this is where The Last of Us 2 ended up being something I totally did not foresee. The game goes back to Seattle day one, but now you're playing as Abby again. And I had to pause and I'm thinking, why the hell am I playing as Abby? When this is the person I'm trying to kill. This is the person we're trying to get revenge on. This is the person that killed Joel. This is the person that Ellie was pinned down and was powerless. And she saw the brutal murder of a man who protected her. And now I'm supposed to play as her? Do we play as the Joker in the Batman games? But hey, it's the game. It's the vision of the creativity of Neil Druckmann. See this how it plays out. So, similar to Ellie's story, as you play Abby, you have flashbacks and you see her life. You see her part of this group that she's with. A military group known as the Wolf, who in the beginning, the game makes you seem like they're a bunch of zealots and crazies. But when you play from Abby's perspective, they're just trained soldiers, an organization, and they're trying to protect this civilized society that they created. And they did create a civilized society as best as you can in this type of world. through flashbacks, you learn about Abby. She was a little girl. You learn as a little girl, she was part of the Fireflies, which was the group that, in part one, needed Ellie to create the vaccine. And funny enough, the doctor that had the ability to create the vaccine was her father. And she was in the hospital the day Joel killed her father. And that's where everything got all. That's when everything went crazy for me. That's when I'm like, okay, Neil Druckmann, okay, Naughty Dog. What are we doing here? What do you want me to? How do you want me to feel now? What are you doing? Like, I'm playing this game. What are you doing? This isn't SJW woke stuff. What story are we telling here? Am I supposed to feel bad for Abby now? Because I get it. She saw her father get killed, who's a doctor, and another man murdered her. Now, that man ended up being Joel. But once again, as a father, I can understand a daughter getting revenge. Isn't that what we were doing in the beginning? A daughter getting revenge for the murder of her father? Ellie? But that's what Abby did. That's Abby's story. The very thing we were doing for Ellie is the thing Abby did. The only difference is it was done to a person we did not perceive as a villain. And that's what I didn't expect. I never looked at Joe as a villain, but the truth is, he's a bad guy. Just like everyone else. He made bad decisions, and he paid the price. That's the game. As you play as Abby, you see her struggles. You see her torment of her father being killed. Similar to Ellie. The same torment that drove her to get revenge, to get her pound of flesh. Abby went through the same thing. And through the journey as Abby, you see her growth. You see her passion to care. She meets a girl who identifies as a boy. The character's name is Lev. And because of this, the group that he's with, pretty much would kill him. So ultimately, Abby protects Lev. You see the character development. And ultimately, Abby, just like everyone else, is fed up with how the way things are. Military, defense, wars, it's just, I'm not going to get into that because that's a bigger thing there. But ultimately, she wants to leave. But upon that decision, she found that her friends got murdered. So there's this one scene. The aquarium was where her friends were at. When you go back to the aquarium, you see blood, you see dogs dead. What makes that scene eerie is Ellie was the character that did that. Because when you play as a character, you go to the aquarium and you do all those damages. You kill all those people. So when Abby comes back and sees how crazy everything is, it's weird because you were the one that did that when you played as Ellie. It's a mind F. Like your mind is effed, realizing how you could look at something from both ends of perspective. From one end, from Ellie's, you're doing the right thing, you're getting revenge. But then from Abby's perspective, the horrors of what's called, the murders and the dead body, it's just crazy what the game is doing to you. So once she's seen all her friends dead, she figured out the location of where this person was staying at, and she went there. Which goes back to the scene of the standoff between Abby and Ellie. Now you're at the standoff. and the game has you playing as Abby. You don't play as Ellie, you play as Abby. Ellie's the bad guy. You have to fight Ellie. And Ellie, depending on what mode you have the game in, you know, if you play in the easy mode, probably not. But if you play in the higher difficulty challenges, you appreciate the skill Ellie has. Ellie in the harder modes, she has some skills. She's a hard chick. She sets up traps, her arrows is on point, her fighting techniques, she is a beast. Of course, you'll eventually beat Ellie, but you don't kill Ellie. I won't deep dive into that. Ultimately, you think it's done. Fast forward in time, Abby and her friend Lev looking for fireflies. They get captured by some weird group. Ellie's living with Dina. The kid's already born, I think 16 months. So maybe almost 2 years has passed, or just under 2 years. But Ellie has PTSD. She sees the horror of Joel being murdered, and she can't let it go. It's too much. Tommy visits them, and he puts an idea in her head that he knows where Abby's at, but he's critically injured. He has a lifelong permanent injury, so he can't do it. At first, Ellie resisted, said no, which pissed off Tommy. But over the night, Ellie realizes she had to go after Abby. Her girlfriend Dina says she's not going through this again. Obviously, classic tale of choosing revenge over love, right? And you set off to chase Abby again. End up in Santa Barbara, California. You fight a new group who are more like slave traders. So they round up humans and they use them as slaves. Ultimately, you find Abby, but you find Abby in a weakened state. Her hair's been cut off. She's no longer the solid figure that you saw. You can still see a little muscle, but she lost a lot of weight. Her face is skinny. She's been enslaved for so long, and she was being punished. They had her tied up on a beach on this pole with a whole bunch of dead people on the beach. So she was just messed up. Even you could see Ellie felt pity for her. Ellie freed her and Lev, and they would escape by boat, but not before one final fight scene, because Ellie couldn't just let her go. Abby didn't want to fight, but Ellie wasn't trying to hear that. So they fought in hand-to-hand combat. And in the final moments, and you play as Ellie in this scenario, but in the final moments, when Ellie had the ability to drown Abby and kill her, she saw. What drove her to that was the image of Joel bloodied and beat down. But in the final moments of Ellie about to kill Abby, she saw a glimpse of Joel sitting on a chair, happy, playing a guitar, and he stares at her smiling. Why that image popped in her head, she doesn't know, because I guarantee if the image of him bloodied up would have popped in, Abby would have been dead. But it wasn't the image that popped in her head. It was a positive light image. Maybe it was just an image telling Ellie, you gotta stop. And she did. She didn't kill Abby. In fact, she told Abby to go and to take Lev and to escape. Abby goes back to the house where her girlfriend was at and the child was packed up. The only thing that was there was her stuff in one room with the guitar. Ellie plays the guitar one last time. She packs it up, leaves, and then as you look out the window, you see Ellie just walking off, and the game ends. So, the reason why I describe those things in detail is what started out as the most common thing in all video games was a quest for revenge, you know, especially as two iconic characters. You want your pound and flesh. ended up being a game of understanding between all characters. And then you realize, or you should realize, Neil Druckmann provided storytelling of a game that had no heroes. The Last of Us 2 never had any heroes. Joel's not a hero. Ellie's not a hero. Nobody's heroes in this world. Society collapsed, governments got destroyed, and it's a kill or be killed world. Sure, you'll have a few pockets of friends that when united, you can have the same goal. You saw that with the Fireflies. You see that with the Tom Jackson. You can see that with the Wolf, the Seraphites, the slave traders. Sure, in the old world, you can use morality and laws to determine who's the good ones, who's the bad ones. But in this world, if it's all about survival, people with common ideals join forces to provide strength. And that's what the story's about. Joel's not a good guy. He was just a man who got thrown in the world with everything taken from him. And now that he got something back, he will do anything to protect it. But it came at a price. It came at someone else's happiness. Now he didn't realize it. The people he killed, the people Ellie killed, they don't understand the repercussions. They don't know who are they killing. They don't know if that's somebody's husband, somebody's father, somebody's brother, you know. In the same way, Tommy and Ellie wanted revenge for Joel's death because Joel was Tommy's brother, because Joel was Ellie's father. It's the same way when they killed that doctor, they killed someone's father, in this case Abby, someone's mentor, a dude named Owen, which I didn't go into detail. And that's all what the game is about. It's a constant struggle back and forth of decisions and consequences. The truth is, the main hero of the game, if you want to actually need a hero, if you need a hero in the game, if you need a star, who is the star of The Last of Us? The star is the universe of The Last of Us. It's the world itself. And at any point, anybody can have a piece of the story. Even now, when you play The Last of Us 2, any person that you killed can have a consequence if they decide to make a third entry. And that's just the world The Last of Us is. And I never played a game that made me think about the story in relation to how I played. Because again, most games the concept's pretty simple when it comes to sequels. You know, the hero saves the day again, in some form or fashion. But in this game, there are no heroes. Right? The way the story is told, mixed in with the game, how you play it, that's how you get the full effect. You know, simply just looking at the cinematics and the stories is just not enough. You have to be part of it. You have to engage. You have to be part of the process. You have to make those decisions. You have to fight. You have to kill. You have to set the stage. You have to do those things. You have to personally make those things happen because they tie into the story so well. So to get the full experience and to get the full impact of the game and what it does, you have to play it. You have to see it through. And because of all this and this uniqueness, and the stories aren't new. I mean, you could, if you read a lot of books, read a lot of stories, you see similar stories in that fashion, you know. So it's not an all original, 100% original concept, because many stories have done that. Yeah. But as far as gaming, to tell the story that The Last of Us 2 did and tie it in with the gameplay, it was an amazing treat. Make no mistakes. This game is very divisive. You're going to have people who absolutely hate the story because of the way it is. It just didn't end up the way people wanted it to end up. People don't want to like Abby. Abby shouldn't be a character. Abby shouldn't have a sob story. Abby shouldn't have justification to kill Joel. No character. Naughty Dog should have never made a character that can justifiably have a solid reason on why they want the revenge. No. That is supposed to be held for Ellie and Ellie alone. or Joel, not for Abby. And people hate that. That the person that they killed, a character that they love, can justify it. And then some people love it because it's an amazing, different take. It's just a different concept, and it's an amazing, great story. Regardless of which side of the fence you're on, and most of the people will not be down the middle. Most gamers are going to be one or the other. You absolutely hate it, or you absolutely love it. But make no mistake, 10 years from now, everybody will still remember this story. Hate it or love it, this is going to be one of the most unforgettable stories and unforgettable games that's been produced. And I hope more developers take cue and courage to try to take this type of storytelling to the next level. So, for me, Last of Us 2 is a must play if you own a PlayStation. You need to play this game. And I give this game a 9.5 out of 10. I rarely, if ever, give a game a full 10. I don't believe a game will ever be a 10. But I think 9.5 is always a fair score, because what that does is it shows your game is at the pillar, but you hope that there's always room for more. And that the gaming industry pushes forward and co-always, right? Let's not hope. Let's hope that the very best of storytelling doesn't end with The Last of Us 2. Let's hope it can keep going forward and gets better and better. The Last of Us 2 is a must play. And you might either hate it or love it. But I guarantee, in a few years, when you look back, you're going to remember this game. It's a memorable experience. Must play. So with that, I hope you enjoy this Last of Us 2 review. I plan to have 60 Frames No Lag podcast, The Last of Us 2 spoiler cast, because right now I know many of you are thinking, but Portorock, you didn't mention this, you didn't mention that. There is so much to this game, you need multiple people to discuss it, because there's so many multiple viewpoints, it is impossible for me to capture everything. So that's why I want to present to you guys, a spoiler cast where I have other people and we all talk about it, because you're going to hear different perspectives of the games. I'm probably going to learn new things from the panel members. So stay tuned. I will let you know when that spoiler cast happens. Pay attention to the Twitter timeline. I will also make a little note on YouTube, right? But with that, this is your boy Portorock77. I hope you enjoyed this video. And again, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe and hit the like button. And with that, you guys take care.